All right, good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning today's 3 Perakim Rambam, Hilchos Mechira, Perakim Yud Aleph, and Yud Beis, beginning with Perek Yud. Perek Yud is all going to be about coerced sale. If someone was forced to make a sale, is the sale valid? Is the sale not valid? We're going to learn about the concept of making a moida'ah, of making a declaration prior to a forced sale, that I'm only doing it because I am under coercion, but I'm not, I don't have Gemiras Das about nullifying such a moida'ah. Perek Asiri has 8 halachas, beginning with halacha Aleph. Says the Rambam, Mi sha'anosuhu achumachar, when a person was compelled, when a person was forced to sell, and he made a sale, and he takes the money. In other words, there was a transaction. Even if the coercion was threatening one's life, in other words, literally, he was hung until he sold. You want me to take you down the tree? You got to consent to the sale. I know you have to hear this the first time. You're not going to be happy, but that's the halacha. Mimkar. The sale is valid. In other words, you came to the Gemiras Das under coercion. But once you consented, you consented. Whether it's for movables, maybe for karkois, in other words, you made the commitment. I know that you came to making that commitment because of coercion, but you made the commitment. Has nothing to do. Bottom line is that whatever the kinyan was, b'shas hakinyan you have Gemiras Das. And therefore, if a person will issue a protest, and a person is going to say in front of 2 witnesses that, I want you to know, the fact that I'm selling that article or I'm selling that field to that individual, I want you to know prior, I'm being compelled. If he makes that declaration, clearly that I'm not doing it with consent, I'm only doing it under coercion, then the sale is nullified. And even if the person who bought it was there for many years, and I'm going to learn later that when a person lives in a field for 3 years or more, under certain circumstances, that's enough of a chazaka for him to remain on that property. But here, we know he came to the property because of the kinyan. The person who sold it, the original owner, made such a protest. Halacha Beis. And therefore, when a person makes such a protest to witnesses, the witnesses that heard it have to know independently, and they have to know with certainty that his declaration is truthful, and not that they should rely on his declaration, and which is gavaldik. Because imagine, prior to making a sale, which is really not under coercion, a person is going to make such a declaration in front of 2 witnesses, and whenever he's going to want to retract from the sale, he's going to call the witnesses. That's not kosher as well. So they have to know that there is emes here. That we, the witnesses, we know, not because we heard it from this guy, but we know, that's not even called a properly documented issue of protest. Halacha Gimel, by a sale, when you're negotiating a compromise. However, when it comes to the giving of a gift, or when it comes to a person forgiving a debt, if a person issued that protest, even if the person was not issuing a protest because he was being compelled to do so. A person makes a notification, I'm about to give a gift. I want you to know that that's not a legit gift. You know, the koyach of a moida'ah prior to matana or mechila is a lot more powerful. You don't have to have coercion involved. So the witnesses don't have to know that independently. And forgiving a debt has a status of a matana. In other words, by matana, by mechila, you have to have Let me use these words. There's Ratzin and there's Ratzin Gomur. You have to have Ratzin Gomur. And if you don't have Ratzin Gomur, it's not a gift. When it comes to a sale, the fact that you're getting something, you're getting money, it becomes Ratzin Gomur. But if you're under coercion and you make a moidah, then you're not going to consent. That's very important. Halacha dal. Echad ha'enes es chaveroi. Regardless how this coercion is happening, either someone is being beaten, or the person is being hung on shemachet, or he was being frightened. He was being frightened with something that the person who's hearing it could be. There's a reason for him to be frightened, because the guy who's threatening can do it. Whether he's saying he's going to do it through goyim, whether he's going to do it himself, that's called coercion. He's giving an example of what's called coercion. So there was a vineyard owner that rented it out to a tenant. The landlord, guys, the owner, lost the contract. Now, let me tell you why this contract is that important. Because if you're living in my field, what's to stop you from claiming that you bought it from me? And as we'll learn later, once you live in a field for 3 years or more and you claim you bought it, even though you don't have the document of sale, you're going to be believed. Now, the emes is you were renting it. If I have the document that you're only there as a renter, I'm good. I lost the document. That guy found out about it. He wasn't stamaganav. What he said was, after 3 years passed, which now this guy has a bigger koyach to claim that he bought it. He tells me, the tenant tells the landlord, listen here, I want to buy it from you. I'm not a ganav. But if you're not going to consent to the sale, I'm going to claim that I bought it already. Echboish means I'm going to withhold, I'm going to hide. The guy knew that the landlord lost his copy. And I'm going to claim that I bought it. So what did the guy do? So the moicher said, okay, if that's the case, if I'm going to lose it, either you're going to keep it as a ganav or you're going to pay me, I'll sell it. That's called coercion. That's called the oinus. Now, guys, remember today's payday. This is important. If I, the owner, in this case, if I would not make a moidah that I'm selling it because of the oinus, once I consented, the sale is valid. If I'm moiser moidah, but the Eidim have to know independently that I'm saying emes, that's mevatel the sale. Now, if the guy that's renting it actually began to carry out the threat, he took me to Beis Din already and he claimed that it was his. And then I made a declaration. I'm the owner, guys. I'm the landlord. And I said, guys, I'm being coerced. And then he sold it to him. You see how this guy is good. He already took me to court claiming it's already his. Then he paid me for it. In other words, the Rambam is saying that over here, interestingly, normally a moidah has to be made in front of Eidim. Here, he didn't even have to make it in front of Eidim. Why not? Because the Beis Din are the Eidim. In other words, Eidim is really to know independently that I was being coerced. I made a moidah. I made a moidah. I didn't do it in front of Eidim. So what? The Beis Din is the Eidim. The fact that you have a Beis Din that knows that this guy already claimed that he bought it when it was sheker, they are the Eidim moidah. No, simple. Dovi, I don't want to put you in a bad seat, but I'm saying if you in court claimed you already bought it, and later you paid for it to me, of course, not you, the guy that did it. If he bought it, why would he pay it for me? He's a charaya. No, he, in his mind, was not being a ganav. I'm paying for it. But I want you to know that you're going to lose it. And if you're not going to sell it to me, the guy, he already claimed it. But when this guy took me to Beis Din, I lost that din Torah. There's nothing I can do. If I don't have a document and the guy's there for 3 years and he claims that you sold it, Beis Din is going to say, based on the chazaka, you got to keep it. And then he paid for it. That's guys. Now, so Atkan, if I don't make a protest, even though there was coercion, the sale is a sale. I have to make a moidah. When do I have to make a midah? Ba'oines, if the guy was forcing me to sell, because he's called a chamsa. A chamsa means he's like a criminal. That's where you have to have a midah. Now, what happens in a different case? When you have a gazlan, guys, how do we know that Rambam says in a case where it's already established that it was stolen? After he stole it, he bought it, I don't even have to have a midah.
What's the difference between Chamsa and Gazlan again?
You see this watch? If Reuven stole it from me as a robber, and it's established that he stole it, not a ganef, a gazlan. Once we know that he gazled this from me, and one day the gazlan comes to me and says, you know what? I want to do tshuva. That watch, $100, here's $100. I don't even have to make a midah. Because it's a big, when a guy loses something to the hands of a gazlan, he knew who the gazlan is the whole time. You couldn't get it back from him. So it's for sure that there was no gemiras das. He just felt to himself, listen, I lost it anyways. I might as well get some money back. Masha Enkein, if the guy is not as bad as a gazlan, he didn't already steal it from me, he's telling me what he's going to do to me, there, it could be that I had gemiras das. I have to show I don't have gemiras das by making a moidah. Halacha vav, eidei hamidah. Those normal witnesses that you have to have on this protest, they themselves later can sign on the sale. They themselves can know, there's two documents here. There's my moidah document, and then there is the sale document. The Eidim can sign it. The Eidim are not doing anything wrong. You can't have tinus. You knew the guy made a protest. Why are you signing? Adrabah. They knew that I'm being coerced. They're just helping me get rid of the chamsa. They're not doing anything wrong, the witnesses. I think they're doing something good because they're going to give me, the original owner, more power to get it back. And even if the seller, guys, the seller tells the Aiden in the presence of the guy that's coercing him to sell. Just because he says those words, it doesn't undo the moidah. Because just like the guy was being forced to sell it without his consent, could be that ma'anes told me, the seller, to say in front of the Edom, to say the words. And if not, who knows what he's going to do to me? That I'm doing it b'ritzaini. B'ritzaini anei moich. Now, halacha zay. If a seller admits, again, in front of Edom, that he received the money, this is after he issued the moidah. Now, what would you think over here, guys? Let me hold on a second. Let me go to the detail. When I make a moidah, Dovi, the sale is nullified. What's pshat? The sale is nullified? That this item I get back. Do I have to give the money back? Who says I ever got money? So even if you have Aiden, that in front of whom I said that I received money from the Anos, but they never saw me getting the money. Could be I was forced to say those words. And when I pull out my moidah and I challenge the Anos, not only do I get my article back, I don't have to give back the so-called money, even though I was moidah that I got it. It's when I'm being moidah in a case where there is an Anos, everything that I'm saying could have been done on the coercion. And the Edom, again, all of the moidahs, when the Edom know independently that there is someone coercing me, there isn't an Anos. But if the Edom saw me count the money, then I have to give it back. The sale is nullified, but the money is not mine. Final halach in this chapter, now, guys, this is the club. Just like I have the power to issue a moidah, I have a power, Yakir, to nullify the moidah. Now, one second. Just like the Rambam began the chapter, that if I make a sale under coercion, if not for a moidah, the sale is kayam. If I make a bittul moidah under coercion, the bittul is a bittul. Just like without the moidah, even though I was forced to make a transaction, I made the contraction, I got the money.
Not in front of him, because Anything else he said is not considered valid.
No, yeah, because we don't believe it to be the truth.
Why do we believe the Betul? Because he's not there? Because it's not.
It's not a, one second. Look, that's a good question. I'm going to see in a second. Yeah, I think though it only makes sense that the bittul maidah cannot be done before the anos. If not, it's nothing. We don't believe anything he says. That you know what they call this? This is called sometimes a maidah la maidah. Harei ha-maidah b'teilah.
But here he says, "Ve'ini omer chach ela mipnei oinus."
Wait a second. Ve'im amar le'edei ha-maidah. Okay, let's keep going. And if this guy is telling to the edim of the original maidah, hey you yoidim. Shekol kinyan, she'ani loikeach levatel ha-maidah, u'maidah de-maidah, hakol batel. Ve'eni oimer kach ela pnei ha'oines she'atem yoidim, and ve'en bedati la'aknu zanas la'olam. Okay, clear. Then my maidah stands, my bittul maidah was bottled, and the mimkar is bottled, and the mimkar is bottled. Ve'afal pishu kana mayad levatel ha-maidah derech sheviyarnu. Clear.
They did coordinate it before, though.
In other words, exactly. In other words, me being mevatel the maidah, but I think me being, that's a little bit different what you asked. If I'm mevatel the maidah in front of the anos, mechama means nothing. Because every anos will tell the guy, make an issue, a declaration, you're mevatel the maidah. Very good. That was a big topic. Small but big. Now, today's big chapter is Perek Achadasar. The 11th chapter is about guys and asmachta. Now, an asmachta, as we will see, means the word asmachta comes from the word sumoich, l'smoch, right? To depend on. To depend on means if I link a transaction with, if this will happen, it will be a transaction. If this won't happen, in many scenarios, Chazal say, I was depending on that Tanai working its way out, but often that the transaction shouldn't happen. Which means that when the kinyan was made, there wasn't real gemiras das because I was soymech that'll be a different outcome. Which is, as we explained, why gambling is also midrabanan. Because when you put the money on the table, you were being soymech that you'll win it. You were relying on an outcome where you won't lose the money. Had you known the vada you're losing the money, you wouldn't have put the money on the table. That means that when you made the kinyan, there was no gemiras das. Now there's a lot of nuance that the Rambam doesn't write. But we're going to speak it throughout to the best of our ability. Perek Achad also has 18 halachas, beginning with halacha al. Hamakna. Right? Guys, the word makna, right? The one who is transferring the article, kind is the one who's acquiring the article. Hamakna, ben karka b'metaltalin. And during the kinyan, the hisna tanoim, he made a stipulation. Now, guys, by Hilchas Zechio Matana, and previously, I think it was by Hilchas Issues, we learned a lot about stipulations. Right? We had 4 rules when it comes to the stipulations, and we're going to go through it again. The Tanai was made properly. Whenever you make a Maisa with a Tanai, if you did not abide by Hilchos Tanoim, we don't say, since you didn't do the Tanai correct, the whole thing is nullified. That's the opposite. If I make any action, bitnai, and I didn't know how to make a halachically kosher Tanai, the action is valid, the Tanai falls to the side. Here we're speaking about someone who made a proper Tanai. The Rambam is focusing on one of the 4, which is that it has to be something that's possible to happen. Now, who made the stipulation makes no difference. Bench is not makna, the makna normally says the seller, the gifter. Bench is not koina, the purchaser. If the conditions are fulfilled, so then that's the rule of a Tanai, right? So then the kinyan will take effect. In other words, you can always make a Tanai. You don't, the dinam of asmachta, you have to begin this way. It's not like no Tanoim are ever valid. No, there's a laws of Tanoim. Now, we learned in Hilchas Issues, if I remember correctly, guys, it has to be a Tanai kafel. You have to speak on both sides. That means if I'll do this, you will be kind. If I won't do it, even though it's self-understood, you have to speak it out. And when you speak out both sides, it has to be the hen koydem lulav. Remember that? It has to be Tanai koydem lamaisa. There's a machlokes how what that means. But Tanai koydem lamaisa, and it has to be a Tanai she'efshel l'kaim. These are the 4 rules. Bottom line is, Rambam says there is something called doing something al Tanai, and it works, However, that if you fulfill the Tanai, right? So then, in our case, the kinyan takes place. That's b'shekon b'derech men hadrachim shekoinen behem. Now, what is shekoinen b'derech men hadrachim? So, guys, we learned just a few chapters ago the following. Really, when it comes to Tanoim, there's a Tanai that when the Tanai is met, then the thing should take place. And then there's a concept of me'achshav, when the Tanai takes place, or the words almanas, which is as if you said ma'achshav. First of all, the Rambam already established, that's what he means over here, that whenever you make a kinyan ala Tanai, if it's not ma'achshav, it's not shayach for it to be chal. Why not? Because when you make the Tanai, when you make the kinyan, the Tanai didn't happen yet. When the Tanai is fulfilled, the kinyan is not there anymore. You can't match them together. So that's koydem kol. So in other words, that even that you said the words kenei ma'achshav, and then you do the Tanai properly, and then indeed they'll be kind of it retroactively ma'achshav. And v'harei yesh all of l'kaim Tanai. Avol im lo'ikana ato eloma v'hisna imoy she'im yiskaim Tanai ze yikna v'im lo yiskaim lo yikna. Why? Because we say it was only an asmachta. Shahadei samach kin the yosei lasias kach v'kach. The chol asmachta eno koina shahadei legomar beliber laknoisoi. For example, Ketzad hamoicher ba'is lachaveiroi, or he gives him a gift. Al tanai, no guys, al tanai means almanas. I want to make a point. If you don't say almanas, b'chal, it's not shaykh. But I'm saying even when you said almanas, al tanai means you said almanas. Almanas, that what? That sheyeh l'chim l'Yerushalayim b'yom ploni. You're linking it that you'll come with me. The hechzik zeh b'bayis ma'ato. The guy makes a kinyan. Harei zeh kono kisheyeh l'chim l'Yerushalayim b'oisa hayoyim. Because that's pshat, you made a kinyan al tanai. The im avar oisayim v'loy halach, then you're not kind. That's hilchos tanoim. Avalam hisnava amaloi. But if you say that this is not ma'achshav, that im telech imi Yerushalayim b'yom ploni, or im tamali davar ploni, then I'm going to give you this house. Then I'm going to sell it to you b'kach v'kach. And v'halachim b'oisayim, oy hevi loy. Now, guys, here's the word. So first of all, we already said before, when you made those words, when you made that kinyan, Danny, if it wasn't almanas, b'chal, it's not effective. B'chal, it's not effective. Why not? Because when the Tanai was fulfilled, the kinyan is not kaim. The word that Rambam wants to add is, what happens if they made another kinyan then? Not only did they make a kinyan when he said these words, that if you're going to go, then I'm going to sell it to you. Then he went, and then they made a kinyan. Still like kana. Because kinyan means gemiras das. When you said if you will go, if you won't go, we say you are counting on the Tanai not being fulfilled. The fact that you made a kinyan right now doesn't mean you had gemiras das. Clear. And therefore, Eravin means a person gives security. And he tells him, they're having a certain negotiation, right? That happens very often. And you, the seller, you think I'm delaying you a cup. So I want to make sure, like this, take this security. This is not for the sale. But if I'm going to back out, you keep it. And the seller says, The seller also wants to show that he's involved. If I will back out, you gave me a watch that's worth 100, I'm going to give you the watch plus 100. They make these commitments. Now, it depends on which direction. If the lekeach backs out, in other words, when I give you something in your hand, that's in itself an indication that it's not an asmachta. I see it's in your hand already. However, what about your commitment? If I'll back out, I'll give you double. I want to say something just going back over here, that if you made a kinyan in which the moicha was involved after the Tanai was kept, it's not going to be an asmacht anymore. But the Rambam just spoke out before that the buyer, in the case of the bias, he made a chazaka. Now, a chazaka that's not in front of the moicher is not valid. When is a chazaka valid? When the moicher told him previously, leich chazeku kni. When he told him leich chazeku kni, he said it when he was giving the Tanai. And we say that he was hoping the Tanai will not be fulfilled. So there wasn't a leich chazeku kni. That's what the Rambam is really at. In other words, if you make a brand new kinyan with both of them after the Tanai is kept, you can't say there's no kinyan. Chiddush is that the kinyan that you did originally, if it's not almanas, it's not valid. The fact that later he took possession doesn't mean anything. That kinyan is not, because when he's machzik it, then the moicher, who says the moicher wants to sell it? That's why over here he's giving an example that if one side gave the other something b'amash's dik, and the guy's holding on to it, whenever the condition is met, we say there is a kinyan. Big difference. Here he's saying we're going to make, later he made a kinyan chazak. Halacha hey, something, a common scenario. People did not know how to write, and people did not have writing materials the way the world is today. So sometimes you needed scribes to write documents. So there's a document that says that I owe you $100. I want to know what happens when I pay you 50. In the ideal world, if you know how to write, you'll give me a receipt that from this and this document where it says that I owe you 100, I already paid 50. If you don't have such a thing. So what they used to do is they used to both trust a third party. The document was held in the hand of the third party. So you cannot claim the whole 100. You don't even have it. The third party knows that I already paid 50. Now, sometimes they would both tell the third party the following case. The Chemish makes us chayvay, and they gave the document in the hands of a third party. And tell I owe the money. You loaned me $100, guys. I paid you back 50, but you're very unhappy. You want 100. So first of all, we put the document to Yad Shlish, and I tell you, or I told the Shlish, listen, guys, I'm going to pay you within the next 2 weeks. And you know what? And if I don't pay you within the next 2 weeks, I allow the Shlish to give you back the document, which will allow you to charge me the whole 100. I'm trying to appease you. And again, you don't have the document. The document is in the hand of a third party. I only said it because I was counting on the fact of me being able to pay the other 50. Wow. It's any future commitment that's conditional. Any future commitment that's conditional. In many cases, you have to know how the kinyanim work.
What happened to the entire concept of brit krutal asfatayim and all of that thing?
Brit krutal asfatayim means that we already learned before. I'm chayv to keep my words no matter what. 100%. So we had in Pedek Shvi the concept of mechusrei amana. That's nothing to do with this. We're speaking about whether the kinyan is binding, when it's a legal kinyan. The fact that I gave something and I made such a declaration doesn't mean that I was really going to das for it. Future commitments are not so clear.
I understand both concepts. I just don't see how they live together.
When a person says, I will do something, but it's chrysalis for sign. Let me say it that way. I will do. It's a definite statement. It's a hard and fast statement. When I'm saying, I'm going to do something if both sides of the if are shayach, we say, I was counting on the other side. That there's aid and there's a start. Im yekach. Im tasekach, you see, if it's a if, eteluch hamana, oyekteluch abayizeh, the im lo yeh, oy lo yisase, lo yekteluch, lo yekteluch. The Rambam wants to write both sides because it's Bachlal. When it comes to all Tanoim, don't forget, guys, if you make a Tanai and you didn't properly follow Hilchos Tanoim, your Tanai is batal and the kinyan happens right now. You made a proper Tanai. Coming to the minyan, if that happens, the guy ain't coming. That's it, if. However, guys, that's what's very important. When you did not say ma'achshav, all of that is, you're saying that something should only go into effect later. If you don't have Gemiras Das. But if you say but retroactive, the moment you said Kinei Ma'achshav, and now you make a king and Ein Kana Smachta Klal, Vikona. She'ilu Loigamar Laknoisoi, he never would have said, why is he saying retroactive? Ketzah. Im Basi Mikan Vayim Ploini, Kinei Ba'izem Ma'achshav. Vikona Miyode Elkach. Hadei Ze Kona Im Babatecha Azman Shekova. V'chein Chocha Yitzum Ozem. Halacha Ches, Mishu Macha Chatzedei Sedei.
These are amazing, Allah.
Yes, they are. Everything. The first chapter also today. Upeidish b'shas mechira. Shu moiched kedei leilach l'makam ploini. Now we're speaking about a Tanai, guys. We're moving on to a new topic. Normally, you make a Tanai, you speak out, like you said, hen, vilav, you make a Tanai kafel. A guy's making a sale, but he's explaining why he's making the sale. It happens very often, right? People go to make the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, otherwise known today by some communities as Aliyah. And they're saying, I'm selling my house, think about it, because I'm making Aliyah. I want to ask you a question. If this guy was not Zoicha to properly establish himself, and he has to come back, what do we say here? That's this topic. Oh, he says, oh, there's a gefahrliche drought. The guy has a lot of kindle, like the pusher hungry. And he's saying, listen, guys, I want you to know why I'm selling my chatzir? Because I don't have money. This wheat is expensive because there's a drought. I cannot afford flour. I have to sell it. It's as if he made it tonight. Meaning, if after he made that sale, right afterwards, there was a big rain, after the sale, guys, after the kinyan, and mitamol, or not rain, a ship was already at sea, you didn't know about it, it came to the port here with tons of wheat, and the prices dropped. Or the guy, forget about, I take back my case, not that he made aliyah and he was not matzliach, he never went, that's it, he never went. Turned out, he didn't end up buying the wheat. The sale is nullified. And of course, the money he has to give back. The that's taking an asmachta to much a further level. Now, all of that, guys, is if he's
whatever your business, the reason of you selling is on you.
He has to say that. He has to tell the seller what your intentions are is between you and God. Sell it stam. No, if the guy sells it stam, even if Beis Din knows that the reason why he sold it, then it doesn't help. Because dvarim shabalei ve'en dvarim. Aval ha'moicher stam. And not only hoye beliboy, maran means it's apparent. In other words, sometimes you know why the guy is doing what he's doing. You know it. And then it didn't turn out. What he wanted didn't happen. And there's a cloud that dvarim shabaleiv. Einam dvarim. It means they have no halachic consequence. I'm not saying you have to know which context. Al pi kabbalah dvarim shavalei, biggest dvarim, right? What is the Alter Rebbe right at the end of the Tanya? The dabar davar. The dabar davar means that on Shabbos you're not supposed to speak of business affairs, but you can halachically think about it. But people on a higher level try not to think about it. I mean, in the context of here of kinyanim, it doesn't have any legal consequence. Big chapter. Halacha Yud. You transfer ownership. V'hisna olav. And here's the condition, guys. Al menashe titen mekach zeh. Oitim kereno leploini. I am transferring ownership on the condition that you should sell it to someone else. You understand? Or you should give it to someone else. Now look at the irony over here. What does that mean, guys? Let me tell you what the word over here is. Dove, if I sell something to you, almanas, you sell it to someone else, which means that if you don't end up selling it to someone else, it was a condition, not by asmachta, by a real king. If you didn't sell it to someone else, it was never sold to you, which means you will end up selling it to someone else. It's not shot that it was never yours. Lamashal, prior to you selling it to someone else, you ate the paytas. Are those paytas yours? Answer is yes. It's a sale, as long as you fulfill the condition. If you, Dovi, sold it to someone else, then prior to your selling it to someone else, you were kind of it. On the other hand, by selling it to someone else, right? Or let's say I made more. I says, I'm selling it to you, Altanai, that within 30 days of you buying it, you sell it to someone else. You sold it, but beyond the time. So you never owned it. I want to know, we learned about amatana almanas lahachsid. That's what we're talking about over here. Or let me say differently. Is selling something lizman kotzuv a sale or not a sale? And I'll tell you even more. Mela, when I sell it to you and you would sell it to someone else, yeah, it's a sale. What happens if I sell it to you, almanas, you sell it back to me? You know what it looks like? You know what you can think it looks like? A loan. And if it would be dinoi cologne, then the paytas that you would eat during the time that it was yours would have a din of ribis. And the word is that we don't look at it that way. The whole point is, guys, the key is that whenever you make a sale, lisman katsuv, it's considered a sale for that specific time. And during that time, it's fully yours, and you can have user fruit. And then the yachse kishes. But halacha yud aleph.
The price is exactly the same.
Yeah. Doesn't even if the price is the same. No, if any sale lisman kotzuv, any sale that's temporary, is considered a sale. Now, in contrast.
So why is it a sale if it's temporary?
Doesn't matter. The whole life is temporary.
It's a rent. It's a rent.
No, we don't. It's a sale. By the way, rent many times is like a sale.
What's different between renting and sale then? Because sale is final.
Means the goof. Schiros is the goof is not yours. You only reshus is stamshus, and here the goof is yours. L'maynaf kamina not for this. You'll get the contrast here. If I sell a field to you, and I'm telling you, not that in 30 days you have to sell it back to me. And if not, it's never a sale. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, I'm not doing it lisman kasu. If and when I'll have money to buy the same amount of money, then tachzeli karkazu.
Sounds like a mashkon.
That means that you're giving me money. It sounds like a loan.
Yeah.
Very good. And if you're giving me a loan, and I'm going to give you back that money, but if you during that time also eat the paytas of the field, that's called ribis. That's the word. And the paytas is of the moicher. So that's the big thing. In halacha yud, I said that sheyach zali hamechlach bizman ploini. Or even if I said, I think, listen to the words, kishayitin loy hamois. Kishayitin loy hamois versus kishayia li mois. What happens if this was not a stipulation by the moicher, but the guy that's buying understands most people don't sell real estate unless they have to. So the lekeach from his own heart says, Don't worry. When you make your money back, tiviamli, bring me the money, and al va'ani achzeh lecha karka zu. It's interesting. That is a sale. Harei hatanai kayim. Meaning v'halokeach oichel peiris ve'ein bo zeh v'akribis. Why should a midato chiv atzmei b'tanai zeh? Because if the moicher makes the stipulation, if there'll be money, you'll sell it back. That already, I'll tell you something, that's not the ribis, it's tzutza. It's called avakribis. It's not the ribis midorais. It's ribis midorais, avakribis. But if the lekeach says it, even though it's not lisman kasuv, keach is saying, listen, I'm buying it. I want you to know that I'll sell it back to you. Not a problem. And then prior to that, it's a sale. And halacha yudbei is maisa. The isha shesholcha ru'uven liknis lachatzer mishimen. In other words, Shimon is the relative of this woman, guys. Reuven is the shliach, okay? And he was sent by the woman to buy the field from Shimon. But Amar Shimon ha-moicher le-Reuven ha-shliach im yiyeh li ma'os tachzeh li ploinus kirivasi karkazu. And the guy is selling it. People only sell because they need money. Now this is the moicher. The moicher did not even speak to the buyer. The moicher spoke to the shliach. But he's telling the shliach, listen, I want you to know that she's my relative. She'll sell it back to me. And Reuven responded, Ato uploinus krivim kamayach. God, you guys are so close. Which means, l'chayda she'll do it. She tachzeh l'cha. And she won't be makbid. There was never a real sale. Just like we learned before in Halacha Yud Aleph, right? If the moicher makes the stipulation, it's not a sale. Which means, guys, it's a loan. Which means that you can't eat the paytas. Because she, the seller,
what happened to Shliach Shel
1 second. The chiddush is by a tshuva gemara. There's nothing to talk about if the moicher makes the stipulation.
Right, but what happened to Shliach Shel Adam? Here, she sent him over.
Yeah,
right?
To buy. She's a lekeach. She doesn't want to sell it back. The moicher made a tanai.
Okay.
The moicher, the Shimon is the owner. Now, if the moicher makes a tanai, guys, it's mavatal the sale part. It becomes like a loan. The chiddush here is that you could have argued that she the lekeach was not present. If she would have told him, I'll do that, as you're asking, then we know it's not a sale. She was not there. And even the shliach, what did the shliach? The shliach didn't say, I'll make sure it happens. The shliach is saying, you guys are so close, it's gonna happen. But it wasn't the truth. It's considered as if it was a proper tanai. The nimsa shaloi gama v'lehikne v'cheichocha yoytze b'zeh. Halacha Yud Gimel. Asmachta shekonu miyadoin, Allah b'beizin chashuv. So now we're going back to the din of asmachta. And everything that we learned until now was that you made a kinyan, as we learned, it was not ma'achshav. Remember that? It was for, I'm making a kinyan that if this happens, then I'll sell it. If that happened, it won't sell it. What happens if you make that kinyan in the presence of a bezdin chashuv? There's a big machlokes. How do we define the bezdin chashuv? The Rambam himself, who writes in Perish HaMishnayos, a bezdin chashuv means a bezdin that has smicha, real smicha. That would mean that until the coming of until we reenact the Sanhedrin, this halach is not shaykh today. There are other poskim, including the Ramah. The Ramah says a bezdin chashuv is a bezdin that knows good dinei asmachtas. That's shaykh today. Then this halacha could be halacha l'maisa now. So then the rule is, since the kinyan was made in the presence of such a bezdin chashuv, hadeisu kainim. V'hu sheyaspis zuchu yosef bebezdin. Number one, that the legal documents has to be given over to the bezdin, as we'll say, and we have to know that there was no coercion over here. That Rambam will speak out what he means by that. Halacha Yudalad. Keitzad harei shehispis shtoroi oy shabroi bebezdin. So the document that's documenting this, or the promissory note, right, or the receipt, whatever transaction you're doing right now, you see the fact that you're giving it to the hands of the bezdin. Why are you giving it in the hands of the basin? You understand that in itself, just like remember that Rambam gave you an example that if the Lekeach gave a roving, the Yad HaMoicher, while they're negotiating, and he says, if I'm going to back out, you get to keep it, that's not an asmachta, because he gave it to him already. Here, you're giving this agreement, which is an asmachta, is documented, and you're giving it to a basin. In front of the basin, that's im loy babi yoin pliny. For example, you know one of the examples of asmachta was you were mashlish shtarosid. You gave your start to a third party. That was the word an asmachta. But here you're not giving it the yachlish. You're giving the document to a basin. The fact that I gave it to a basin and I made a kinyan in front of a basin, I was going to das. Now, my not coming needed to be a purposeful, mindful, uncoerced not coming. What happens if I didn't come? That means the poil, the t'nai was fulfilled. I didn't come. But I didn't come because I was held back. No, it's not an action under coercion. It's a non-action under coercion. Even that is not considered mine. Why? Because it wasn't I that didn't come. The oinus prevented me from coming. And the Rambam emphasizes again that this has to be bebeis in chashuv. Because if not, that was a whole part of an asmachta. The fact that he did it bebeis in chashuv, make sure there wasn't a...
How would the beis din know why the person didn't arrive?
You have to inquire. And if this guy claims later that I didn't arrive because of an oinus means not, and something unusual happened. There was an earthquake. The river overflowed. The boats that came every day, so I relied on it, didn't come that day. There has to be, if he makes that claim, the other party has to prove him wrong. Maybe not. I wonder who the moitzi or the machzik is. On whom is the onus of proof? You're asking, I don't know how far that goes.
I mean, he's not here. So now they...
No. They can undo it. They can undo it. Then
I had an itis.
I think if he comes up and he proves that, then they'll redo what they did before, because it was an itis. But you want to know whether they have to wait. All these details. Halacha tezva. Well, a gift is unlike a sale. Very important this. If a person is if a guy makes a gift Allah Tanai, of course it's an asmachta. What's the difference, Danny? The guy's being machayev himself without any condition. That's not called an asmachta. Makes a lot of sense. Now, when a guy says the words ani chayiv leploini mana, it's very important. Is huge difference. If I am being moida that you loan me money, that's a whole different topic. We're not talking about that. Ani chayiv means not that there's an alva. I am undertaking a chayvus of giving you a money. I'm being machayiv myself to give you a gift. We're speaking about a star that has no die, but it was documented. Even though he never said the words atem edai, which he made, we know he made a future commitment of a gift unconditionally. Chayv l'shalim. Afal pisha shnei moedim va'edim yoyim shelo yehoya es leklum. Shaharei chiyev atzmai v'gomar v'shibed atzmai. Just like there is a din of an arev. What's the din of an arev? If I am loaning you money, who owes me the money? You do. If a third party steps in to make me feel secure and he says, I am the guarantor. What's a guarantor? Think about it. A guarantor did not receive anything. He's being machayev himself ke'ilu to give a gift on behalf of the recipient. Now the emes is, guys, it's not mamish doimim, because by an arev, I want you to know, an arev needs a kinyan. Here, you don't even need a kinyan. You don't even need a kinyan. How great is that?
What is the debt coming from?
Matana. Person is being machayev himself to give something
I owe you extra money, even though I don't, but if I say it in front of witnesses.
No. Not I owe. No, not I owe because of a loan. Yeah, I owe means I'm making a pledge. Oh, the word owe in Lashon, owe can mean I owe you from the past. I am now undertaking to owe you.
That's binding.
That's a binding statement. There's no asmachta here.
Unless for tzedakah, then it's
By tzedakah, it's even more binding.
then you can back out of the tzedakah, isn't it?
Who said that?
We're being recorded there. Don't
With
forget.
Rabbi Zajac, it was a whole.
No, you can't. No, he was speaking about when people are bidding. I think that was the whole word.
Oh, I made a big pledge to Chabad, and then backed out. And he was able to.
Maybe he didn't do it in front of Adam. He did it in front of Adam. The whole thing, there's Adam here. And he had to tell them, hey, yolai Adam, atamedai. Not he made a declaration in public and people overheard him. Saying to in front of him, you should be Adam. That's
Not to be a news, but you should know that the reason Gemara that we were learning that Elo Poskim Tzedakah Baram and not follow on Sukkah.
Mamash.
We learned that they're losing their home to the mountain.
But that's because it was to tzedakah, so you don't even need the atamedai. I'm saying tzedakah is even worse.
Right, I'm with you. He says that no, you don't have
Maybe that rabbi made big pledges he doesn't want to pay.
to stop.
Okay, halacha. I'm just kidding.
Maybe
Halacha
it was that you had the power to switch to tzedakah.
could be something.
That's what it was.
Halacha to zayin. Now, halacha yutesvav was you in front of Adam atamedai and it's something fixed. If you're machayev not fixed, for example, hareini chayev lozo noischa. What does that mean? What does that mean? For how long? Here, not only if you did it atamedai, even if you made a kinyan loy nishtabed. Why? It resembles a present, but
Holding you for 5 years now. Why is that?
wait. The aim can dover you do a matzah in the sunny b'matana. In other words, how much money do you need, Daddy, to support someone for 5 years? Is not something katsuv. If you said I'm chayiv myself over the next 5 years to give you up until $500,000, at least you know what commitment it is. If the commitment is not known in the number, that in itself means you're not fully committed. Can't commit to something that's not known when it comes to a gift. The big hasha is that in the ksuba, one of the Tanai ksuba, the Rambam is going to ask it. And when it comes to marriage, the chiba or the excitement or the fake excitement you have before the marriage is so strong that you're going to makna. There's something about marriage that commitments are made deeper no matter what. Which was a typical Tanai ksuba. Which is the whole topic that that happens by marriage, that sometimes your verbal commitment doesn't even need to have a kinyan. Similarly, your verbal commitment can be even for davar she'eino kotzev. And the final halacha in this chapter, halacha yudches, kishehoyu chach misfar deroitzim lahakmis basmachto. Let's go back to the topic. So we got a problem with an asmachta. Guys, just to come back over here. Whenever I make a transaction, conditional, not retroactive, not that when you fulfill the condition, retroactive, not conditional. I'm saying this will be yours if that happens. And it won't be yours if something else happens. Generally, the rule is, I didn't really consent to it because I was counting that it won't happen. I was relying on the other option. So how do you get around it? Many times people do want to make a kinyan now. They want it to go into effect if one side of the possibility happens. So what do you do? So they had a gewaldige way of circumventing the whole issue of an asmachta. And that is that both parties make a kinyan, which is I make a kinyan indefinitely. Indefinitely, not al tanai. But I want it to be al tanai. The other party says that if that side happens, they're going to give it back to me. Let's read it inside. It's a gewaldige chap.
That's not on this one.
No, because it's a two-way kinyan. Let's read it.
That's also from now and on, right?
Koinen mizeshu chayv lit lozem me'edinor. Va'achar she's chayv atzmoi, koinen mibal chayvoi, shekol zman sheyeh kach, or sheyase kach, hari achayv hazeh mochol ma'achshav. It's the party that is the giver, the makna, who really only wants to give it on condition should not make it a condition. The other party should already say that if that side, I'm right away moichel it. It's such a great way.
Sometimes they don't have tons of money and they want the rabbi to be their pocket in a way.
Want the rabbi to give back all the money plus. To give back. In other words, even though we just said that b'shas hanesuyin, right? B'shas hanesuyin, the person is going to makna. Still they made some people. They wanted to go into a marriage, and by saying that I'm a chayv myself to give this amount of money on the condition that you make me coffee every day. People wanted to make tanoim. So what they did is you give it to her indefinitely. She made another kinyan. She says that if this and this and this, I'm right away moichel it. So he ended up getting what he wanted, but the giver did not make the try. He made a real kinyan. So he's being machayiv himself. He only really wants to do it if one eventuality happens. So she says that if this eventuality doesn't happen, I'm me'achshav moichel it. That's the way you circumvent an asmachta ish. I'm putting the money down on the table by gambling. I'm giving it to you regardless. Black or red, it's yours. You're making the opposite tonight. If it falls on that, you don't accept. It works. It makes a lot of sense. You have both parties involved. The giver gives it unconditionally, and the recipient is making it tonight that he'll be moichel. Now, today's third chapter, Perek Shnei Masar, is that now we are studying. Every chapter is a mountain today. We're learning now the laws of what we call oino'as mamain. The word oino'ah has two complete different applications. The word, there's oino'as devarim, we'll get to that later. You're afflicting someone verbally. You're saying things that are nasty. Oino'as mamain is a legal thing. Is that the word oino'ah means cheating, you're overcharging or you undercharged, you got cheated. And the basic rule, I can say about Peh, if the oino'ah is less than a sixth, we'll see soon how to cheshbon the sixth. The presumption is that the party that got cheated was moichel. If the overcharge or undercharge was a halachic sixth, we'll see how to apply that. It's not so pashut. It sounds pashut, but if it's a shtus, then the sale is a sale, but the money has to be returned to whichever party got cheated. If the eino was more than a sixth, the whole mekach is batal. The whole mekach is batal. That's basically this chapter, Perek Shnei Masar, that's 15 halachas, halacha aleph. So first of all, it says that Rambam asur la moicher oy la koina isur on both parties. Lo hoino, says chaveiroi, to take unfair advantage, to cheat. Shnei, as it says, v'chisim kurumim karla misecha oy koina v'yad misecha. The Torah says al toinu. Al toinu means don't take unfair advantage. Now, af al pishoy v'aloy sasem edo loike b'pnei shenitan lehishavim, because this undercharge should be returned. In other words, you deal with it by correcting it, not by getting flogged. You correct it by returning the money. Because we're going to learn later in certain items, like by karka. By karka, there's no din of eino. Doesn't matter how much they know, how much. If it happened, the chayiv lo hashiv. And I want to tell you right now, chayiv lo hashiv is if it's exactly a sixth. That's the bottom line. Because if it's less than a sixth, there was mechila. If it's more than a sixth, you don't have to correct the money. The whole thing is nullified. Okay, now, halacha beis, and indeed, this rule in halacha aleph, that the transaction was valid, but one party got cheated, so you resolve it by correcting, returning the money. That's only shtus b'shavim. That what means to say with this, not if the overcharge was less than a sixth, not if the overcharge was more than a sixth. No, then there's no chiyuv lahashiv. Either there's mechila or the whole mekach is batal. Shtus means a six. Now, the problem with the shtus is that's a whole machlekes Rav and Shmuel, I think. How do you cheshbon the shtus? Is it from the value of the sale? Is it from the value of the money that you gave? And we're going to say from whichever tzad. If mitzad, from one way of looking at it, there's going to be a sixth, then the sale is valid and the money has to be returned. For example, the Rambam gives all the cases. Shemachar shava shisha b'chamisha. Something that's worth six. Something is worth six. Not the demei hakesef, the demei hamekach. It's worth 6. If it was sold for 5, that means who got cheated here? The moicher, it was by accident. Yeah, you can say it was a mistake. It was a mistake. He received a 6 less. That's exact the 6 from the demei hamekach. Or also, and guys, I know there's different girsois. I'm using the Rambam from Rabbi Zajac. I don't know how it is in the Chayenu. Oishava shisha b'shiva. Here, something that's worth 6, the guy charged 7. So again, the value of the item, a 1/6 of it was cheated from the purchaser. It goes more. Shava chamisha b'shisha. See, here it's already different. Shava chamisha b'shisha. If it's worth 5, if you only cheshbon the 6 based on the value of the item, there should be more than a 6. There should be bit on, but you don't say that. Because since you got the kesef was 6, from the perspective of the kesef, you got one of those 6 extra. It's still considered a shtus. It's not considered more than a 6.
Consistent way of.
We use both sides. We use both. In other words, we say that it's a 6, whether it's a 6 from the mekach, or whether it's a 6 from the kesef shenasa. You learn that in the Gemara. Both sides. You can't say it's a chumrah or a kula, because bittul hamekach can be to the advantage of one, can be to the advantage of the other. One thing is for sure, there's no mechila, but it's still included in the din that you have to compensate the difference in money. Or even in the other direction, something is worth.
So you have to give back that entire 6.
Yes. Well, in my case here, something is worth 7. Now, guys, 1 out of 7, Rabbi Chaim, you can say is less than a 6. It's a 7th. It's less. We don't say mechil. If the guy actually paid shava shiva, the guy paid a 6. First of all, who got cheated? The moicher. We don't say that the moicher was moicher, because from the money that he got paid 6, a 1/6 of the May Shekibel, he got 1 unit less than he should have gotten. He should have gotten 7. That's also called the shtus. Yeah, then if you want to use the words, doesn't have to be consistent. From any angle, from one angle, there has to be exactly a 6. Then in the din that the nikna hamekach, I have it mine. I know. I don't know what. How is it written by you? Many people, I think it says hama'anen.
Yeah, it says here.
I'm reading the words in the Rambam from Steinsaltz, who was a big baldig mastama. He's right. Mine means the guy who cheated. Lahachzir esaino kula limis ane, to the one, let's say, who suffered the loss. Now, it's less than a 6. Now, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm reading the gears of the Magid Mishnah. Not it won't fit. But the way we explain the Rambam until now, that we say that it's a 6, Bain from the Demei HaMekach, Bain a 6 from the Kesef Shekibel. Here, the Girsa will be that something that was worth Shivim, you received, if you would have gotten 60, the Rambam said it before, Shiva, it's also called a 6, but you got Shishim and a Pruta. First of all, if something is worth 70 and you only get 60, who's being cheated? The Moicher. The Moicher is being cheated. The Shoigik, he did it, doesn't matter. If he would have gotten 60, then he got exactly 10, which is a 1/6 of what he got. But if he got 60 and a pruta, so that means he got cheated a little bit less than a 6. He's Michael. So it was again shava shivim dinar b'shishim u'pruta. That's the gears of the Magid Mishnah. Ein chayv lahachzor klum. They're like, why the shekol hapachos mishtus derech hakoel limchol boy?
The minimum shtus.
Yeah. Halacha dalot choisa how he know yisera al shtus even only b'chol shehu. What will be an example of that? Shemach.
It does fit with the Rambam. Magid Mishnah.
No, I'm saying if shava shishim dinar b'chamishim dinar pruta.
It's perfect. It's exactly what I'm writing.
I just read halacha gimel. If something is worth shishim
minus a pruta, I mean it's more than a 6th. That's what it's saying.
Yeah.
So then it's bottom.
Okay, right. Now again, if you have, let's go in the other case. If something that's worth 60 and you own and you got b'chamishim, you got less than 50. So here the shtus would have been 10, right? 10 is a sixth of the 60. 10 is not a sixth of the 50. Point is that you didn't even get 50. You got less. That means the cheat is for more than a sixth. Batal HaMekach. Now, what happens when Batal HaMekach? It only means that the party that got cheated has an option. They have an option. Either take the money you gave me and give me back the article, or compensate. The party that did the cheating, even though we're not speaking about ethically, they didn't know. That party doesn't have that right. The Hamisane, the one that was wronged, the one who took advantage, if the other guy says, you know what, I'm fine, that's very important. You got that? In other words, the party that got more cannot now turn around and be mevatel it. Only the party that got lost has the option to be mevatel the mekach.
Aren't we to?
No. Now, ein hamoine, or the one who received the unfair gain. Chayv lahachzir. Another din. Ad sheti haino yosef al prut. The din of chayv lahachzir goes by a shtus, right? Only if that number is more than a prut. Even though this is a sixth, ein a machzir, because there's a cloud, guys. Why? Because just like Chazal say that if the oina is less than a shtus, there was mechila. Even when if it's only one pruta.
So how does it fit actually with the Divrei Chazal when say din mea kedin pruta?
Not for this.
Not for this.
No, it's if there's a din Torah, because I, God forbid, stole from you, then the same effort they make for $1 million, they have to make for a din Torah from one pruta. But if there was a transaction and there was an over-under charge, even though it's in the din of a shtus, which chayiv lahachzir, if that is one, no. Halacha. Now, until when does that happen? Because we can argue that if a certain amount of time passed and the cheated party did not claim the shtus back, he was moichel. Yes, it's true. There is a certain time. Or even in the case where there was more than a six and the wrong party has an option to say, bottle, so you have to know where you live. Some places like in LA, there's tagarim all over the place. In villages, it just normally takes more time to meet an expert in this field or to your relative, interestingly, who's looking out for you. The imsha yasad al zeh, feel like you paid not the shtus, you overpaid double. Why? Because we say shemin astam you were meichel. Who has the one to show it? It makes so much sense because the lekeach has the article. So when they meet a tagor, they can say, you see this? I paid X amount of money. Was I cheated? The moicher can also be cheated because the moicher, let's say, got underpaid. The moicher doesn't have the article to show it to someone.
Yeah.
We'll see soon. The oilam has a limit, but it's a lot more. He has a lot more time because he can claim now. What happens if the may zeshamachad is available? I'll give you an example, guys. If I sold this article today, everything is made on machines. There's many of this in the market. No, the moicher can only say, I never knew that I got underpaid because I didn't have it to show if the article that he showed was unique. But if the article that he sold is not unique, in other words, if I sold a standard article, today there's a lot of standard. I sold this type of chair. But today everything is standardized. And the Rambam gives an example of food. You sold a pepper, the chayotze bahem, then the moicher also is bound by time. He's like the lekeach. Because everyone knows about the price for a pepper. You don't have to see the pepper. Halacha zay. We know. In other words, it is known. Beis Din knows that this guy knew. Beis Din know that this guy knew that he got cheated. Beis Din knows that, and this guy right away didn't protest. Then you can't, after your moichel, change your mind. Many times you can know Pasha by Edom. Many times people do a sale and they say, guys, I know. They tell their chavedim, I know that I got a little bit underpaid. What can I do? You know, you know that he knew and he was moichel.
These dinim are very challenging
to apply. They're not challenging to understand. They're challenging.
I mean, the marketplace is a fluid situation.
No, okay, very good. Okay, I want to add. Okay, so I guess now we're living in a Western culture where there's free competition, but we are allowed to charge whatever we want. It's a whole.
Look at the price of eggs today.
So I'm saying we can charge whatever you can charge whatever you want in America. It's a whole different system because here you can compete. Because you can compete. There's another way of keeping. In those days, there was a lot more rules on non-competing. If you had a market, Danny, then other people were not allowed to open a market so close to you. On the other hand, the prices needed to be fixed. In other words, on staple items, the chiyuv on the community then to fix it was a lot stronger than the chiyuv today to fix it. Today, when you go into a store, what standard price? Everyone charges whatever they could. It's different. Let's keep on learning other chapters. Halacha Shem shoyno lahedyet.
The mentality that you don't have, for instance, in Israel, you have lechem mesibsad, eggs mesibsad, but the government controls it.
Whenever, no, it's in a place where there's a control, there's a whenever there's no control, there's no enough, because then nothing has a fixed price. Shem shoyno lahedyet. It's not only an ordinary person. A merchant who's a bucky can claim I made a mistake. That's very important. If he overpaid, you cannot say, you were the merchant, you should have known. He says, I didn't know. By karka, there's no enough. That's a good example, Danny. Karka, b'din Torah, is like the Western world, b'din everything. There's no price, there's no fixed price. Charge whatever people are going to pay.
This doesn't really apply to me.
I don't think B'Poel Mamish, because people are living, they're accepting the way commerce happens over here. Now, if there was a mistake, Danny, if there was a mistake. Mistake means that this merchant, what happens if they make a mistake? I think it does apply. If there was an overcharge or an undercharge by the toes, that can still happen today. The shoyge can happen. Was this guy charges $1 a dozen? When he made the calc, he pressed the button wrong, and you found out about it. So then, less than a shtus, your shtus, the money should go back. More than a shtus, you can even say batalam. Okay, right. Kate said, for example, what can be this by your coins? Let's say that when people would exchange money, so for every 24 of silver, you would give one of gold, and for some reason, the banker, the exchanger, only got 20, and he gave you the golden coin. He made a mistake. Now, what is this, guys? So that's a sixth of the Mecca. You get it? Or the other side, here, the money banker gave you, he didn't get 24, he took 28 from you. In both, this is like Sheish B'Sheva. This is like Sheish B'Shem. The money has to be replaced. Danny, this applies today. You go into all of these money exchanges, right? Moshe Katzenellenberg of blessed memory. So there's an exchange rate. No, there is a rate. For a pound, you get X amount of dollars. He gave you the wrong amount. He gave you more, he gave you less. That's what we're talking about. That's called enough. And if it was more than a sixth, then the whole exchange is nullified. That means the wrong party. Now, Pachas Mikan, there's Mechila. Now we're speaking about, guys, coins that lack a sixth of their weight. Now, it's very important. If coins are dafka weighted, there's a rule, even a change of weight, b'chol shehu is mevatel everything. It's like we learned the whole dinim of having kosher weights. It's b'chol shehu. I'm speaking about times, Yakir, where no one weighted the coins. They counted the coins. But there was, a seller should have a certain amount of weight. What happens if the coin got rubbed out? That's where we say the sixth. So if it was exactly a sixth less, the key is that slime are being exchanged by number and not by weight. The way money is used today, no one weighs your coins. So then we only tolerate up until a six. If it was already a six, machzer, how you know? It's important. Whenever the makbid on the weight, even b'cholshu. Same concept that we had before. If you're living in a larger city, so you have bankers available, the time that it would take you to show it to a banker. If you're living in a village where you don't even have money exchangers, so there we established that every Erev Shabbos, by Erev Shabbos, people will know already. And an Erev Shabbos, even in a kfar, you'll have the shulchan. Any item that you need to have a mumcha to assess. So then you have the time until that mumcha is available. Like when people buy sfarim, people sell avaram teim margolius. Yesh lekech lasen ad kedei sheyano ois latagaram habikim behem b'chol makom shehem. Because she'ein hakol bikim dvaram el. Lefikach im lo yehoye maker bo'is medina. And v'hoy lechamekach l'makom acher. Oy sheba baki la'achas man meruba bo'hidia sheto. Harei zachayim. Because you never had mechila, you never had the opportunity to find out. Halacha yud beis. Hanoisim sallah chaser lechaveidoi. And we're speaking about a seller that's lacking in weight. You gave such a seller. Makeda means, guys, Danny, not that you knew it was I have a lot of saloim. I don't even know which one. If I, the recipient, I remember this coin I got from you, if I identified this seller, afilu la'achar shnei masor chodesh, harei zeh machziro.
What about more than time?
No, it doesn't matter. No, it doesn't matter how much time. The Rambam is writing even more that if I have the coin itself, even if, let's say by a coin, there was time to show it to a shulchani, I can give you back the coin if I have the coin. You understand? It's like when if I buy an article that has a defect, there's no zman for that. This defect exchange. Elam came kiblim yemenu amidas hachasidus, which is gavaldik. No, if the giver goes beyond the letter of the law, they'll always correct it. We're speaking about coins that are lacking in weight. What is this, guys? Shava arba halkop. Shava arba b'chamesh. That's more than a shtus, right? The guy paid instead of 4, right? Yakir, 1 out of 4 is a fourth, more than a sixth. But you have to know that. Really, the wrong party had the power to be mevatel the Mecca. What happened over here is that by the time you had the opportunity to show it to an expert, you paid 5 in order to turn that yakir. Now it's worth 7. Gavaldik, right? If you wouldn't have cheated me, then we did a deal. That means that I would have been the one making the profit. So now that you cheated me, now that you wronged me, now you should have the right to retract. Similarly, guys, again, 1 out of 5 is still more than a sixth. Here, we're just thinking in a scenario where the moicher is the one that got cheated. The moicher is the one that has the right to be mevatel the makach if he so chooses. And now it turned out, now what did the moicher get? The moicher got 4. You know what the maile is? Now, if he would have sold it, he only would have gotten 3. Turned out now, the moicher could be happy. Like the lekech says, be mevatel it. No. Final halacha tezvav. This is a case of a shtus. This is a case where you came in mevatel the mekach, but you get the money back. Now it's worth 8. Because once we say that the sale is binding up or down is to the benefit of the current owner. That's one din. And the same thing in the reverse. Which means it's exactly a sixth. The moicher lost a sixth, and that's money that the lokeach has to pay him. And now it turns out that it's only 3. The lokeach still has to pay him. Amazing.